Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, and if you're new here, it is so great to have you. I'm Antoinette, a New Zealander living in Germany. And in this video today, I am going to be sharing some of my thoughts and opinions on the German school system. And I'm going to be talking more specifically about primary school, elementary school, or in Germany, Grundschule. And this is the first 4 years of school in Germany. So I'm going to be talking about this from my own personal experience of having a child in the German school system. My little girl Amelia, who is 7, she is in her 2nd year of school here in Germany. And I'm also going to be comparing it a little bit to school in New Zealand, where I was born and raised. Obviously, this hasn't been your typical start to school because of everything going on with COVID, and it's been quite an unusual start, to be honest. But there's definitely been periods of normality during the year and a half that Amelia has been in school, and I think I've got sort of a fair idea of how things work here right now. And honestly, I want to be 100% honest, this is not an easy video for me to make. I've been wanting to make a video like this for ages and give you a little bit of an update, but I've been reluctant to make the video for a couple of reasons. The first reason being that my children's privacy is really important to me, and I am very, very selective about what I share in regards to my children, online. And you may be thinking, oh, but you show your children online. Yeah, occasionally my children will be in one of my videos, but I'm very, very careful about the information that I share about my children. So this is more going to be about my opinions on the school system in general. I'm not going to be focusing too much on my little girl, Amelia. Of course, I have to reference her sometimes because the only reason I know about the school system is because of my daughter, but it's not going to be, just about my daughter. If you guys watch my videos, you'll know that I've been living in Germany for over 10 years now, and there is so much about Germany that I just love, and I'm so grateful to live here in so many ways. I think it's a fabulous country to raise kids, but in saying that, this whole school experience has been really eye-opening for me, and there has been times, like moments, days, where I have even questioned my decision, like my family's decision to live here in Germany, because I've struggled with certain aspects of the school system. But the thing is, I know that a lot of you watch my videos because you find it interesting learning about Germany through the eyes of a New Zealander, from an outsider's point of view. And I feel like lately I have been opening up a lot more about sort of the reality of living here, the good and the bad. Some of you may totally disagree with what I have to say, so I'm not saying everything I am saying in this video is fact. This is just my experience, and so hopefully you can respect that. So I just want to start out by saying that my little girl Amelia, she loves going to school in Germany. She wakes up every morning, she can't wait to get on that school bus and get to school and see her friends, and she's a happy little girl, and I have absolutely no problem with getting her to school. And I think that has to count for something, right? Like, if you're a parent, you know that your child's happiness is everything. So I have to say that the German school system is a system that a lot of children thrive in. It is the perfect system, the perfect environment for many, many children, except not for every child, because in my opinion, the German school system is very one-dimensional. It is a system that is built on structure, and the main goal is academic achievement, and there's sort of no in between. Not every child is academically driven. Children have different strengths, different weaknesses, different interests, and seeing my little girl go through the German school system has been quite confronting for me as a parent. Mainly because it's brought back a lot of, insecurities from my childhood, because I strongly believe that I was a child that if I grew up in Germany, I would not have thrived in the German school system. It would have been just a nightmare for me personally. Not saying for every child. I've opened up about this a little bit before in previous videos, but I'm dyslexic. In Germany, I think it's called Legasthenia. And so I learn in a very, very different way to a lot of people. I went through university, I'm capable of doing anything, but I have a different style of learning. I absolutely thrived in anything to do with the arts, like music, visual arts, creative writing. That's where I thrived. I I see so much of myself in my little girl, and she just absolutely thrives in a creative, artistic environment. I'm not saying she doesn't like going to school in Germany. I guess I'm just saying that every child is different, and I think Germany is very, very focused on academic achievement, and I think a lot of these other areas are kind of ignored. And this is where I have a problem with the school system. I don't think it fits every child at all. I think it fits a certain type of child. And so if you don't fit into this box, then it's going to be hard for you at school. So in my previous video, I talked about the differences between the hours, the school hours. In Germany, it starts earlier at 8 o'clock most of the time. This is Bavaria. I live in Bavaria, so it may be different throughout Germany. But school normally starts around 8 o'clock here and finishes around 12:15. And in New Zealand, school starts around 9 and finishes around 3. And so obviously the children are home a lot earlier from school. This can be super tricky for parents who are working full-time. For me, I have a flexible schedule. I work from home part-time, and so it works out okay for me. But for parents who work full-time, they have to find an alternative solution for after-school care. There is a really great program which is Mittagsbetreuung, which a lot of children go to in Germany. There are definitely some great options for parents who work full-time and can't be there when their children get home from school. The difference is kids in Germany get a lot of homework, and this starts right from the very beginning of school in Germany. This is something that I struggled with, and I still do. The fact that children, when school's over, school's not over because there is a lot of homework that they have to do. In New Zealand, children don't really get very much homework. They may get a little bit of reading to do with their parents and practice for a spelling test or something like that, but there's not a lot of homework. But in saying that, they are in school till longer, till 3, and so the teacher is responsible for teaching them in that time. But in Germany, the kids come home with a whole lot of homework that the parents actually have to supervise, and they actually can go, as I mentioned, to an after-school program where there are people to help them with their homework. So the first year Amelia was at school, we decided to put her into an afternoon program where she would stay till 2 o'clock after school. And the main reason why we did this is because we thought it would be great for somebody to help her out a little bit with her homework, since I'm not a native German speaker, and I know that the parents have to be quite involved in the homework, and I thought it would be great for her to get a little bit of help with the homework. And the other 2 days I could definitely manage that. But it turned out that Amelia would come home at 2 o'clock and she had absolutely no homework done. And so it was sort of like an option. The kids could do their homework, and there were sort of people to help if they needed to. But for the most part, most kids who stayed till 2, they didn't do their homework. They didn't feel like it after school. It was only the children who stayed till, I think it was around 4, who would get help with their homework. So in my daughter's school and a lot of schools in our area, I have friends who have children, school-age children around Amelia's age, and we talk to each other a lot. We compare notes, what's going on in their child's school and what's going on in my child's school, and it all seems to be very similar. They usually get maybe 2 to 3 quite big worksheets to get through in the afternoon, and either like a worksheet or a page in a book or something like that. And it's only actually meant to take around, I think, half an hour for the child to complete, but realistically that's not the case. I know it takes many kids a lot longer to get through this homework, like up to 2 hours sometimes to get through this homework, and it's the sort of homework that the parent needs to be there. At this age, when the children are a little bit older, they are more independent and they can work on their own, but at the very beginning of school, parents have to be there to supervise, or somebody has to be there, or it's just, it doesn't work. It just doesn't work. And they give you very sort of brief instructions about what the child has to do. And normally it's in the child's writing, and it's not always clear. So the child has to write in their sort of diary what homework that they have to do. And sometimes you can't even read it properly, to be honest. And so homework was always a battle for us. So in New Zealand, school may be longer, but you have a qualified teacher there the whole time keeping the child on track, and they are not given much homework, if any homework. And in Germany, you know, they finish school earlier, but school's not finished because they have to come home and they have to sit down and focus and get this homework done. And if the parent is not 100% on track with everything, then the child falls behind. So I really think that a lot of the child's academic performance weighs a lot on the parents. And so not every parent is going to be like me and be very sort of dedicated to helping their child and wanting their child to do well in school. Some parents, they have a lot of stress, and some children can just slip and fall behind because they don't have a parent there to keep them on track with everything. And so I think a lot of a child's early academic achievement has to do with the parents like really getting in there and helping that child, because you know, when the children come home, that, you know, it's the parents on their own helping the child get through this homework. And it's sort of like a big chunk of school that in another country would have been supervised by a qualified teacher that a parent has to be responsible for. And so I'm not sure in different states. In Germany it may be different, there may be less homework, but everybody I've talked to around here with school age kids, they always complain about the homework and the fact that their child does not want to get through the homework. Some children are very studious and are very good with sitting down and concentrating and getting their homework done, but I think most kids struggle with it, and it's not always easy. In New Zealand, the parents didn't really have a lot to do with it. Of course, you know, it really helped that parents would read to their children in the evening and that kind of thing, but they weren't responsible, or they aren't in New Zealand responsible for their child's what their child gets done in school. That's the teacher's responsibility. But in Germany, it has a lot of the responsibility is on the parent. I think this is quite unfair, because what about the children whose parents are immigrants and they are struggling with German themselves, and for them to help their child with German homework, it's really hard. And then there's other children whose parents are highly educated and very, very focused on guiding their children through this homework, which in other countries would be the responsibility of the teacher in the school. So that's just my observation of this area of the German school system, and I know I am not alone with this. I know that a lot of parents struggle with this as well, and I'm not saying that every day is a battle or anything, because sometimes it's totally fine, you know, my child will come home, she'll get through her homework, everything runs smoothly, but not every day. And I know that, as I mentioned, it's not just me, because time and time again, even from German parents, fellow expats, a lot of people struggle and, you know, complain about the whole homework situation in Germany. It can just get a bit too much. And another thing, as I mentioned, school in Germany, it's just very, very academically driven and ordered and structured, and there's not a lot of room for creativity. At school in New Zealand, it was just totally different. Everything in Germany, it's just, in my opinion, the worksheets and the books and things are quite boring for the kids. It's just very like boom, 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 just get this done. The children are taking tests in the first year of school to make sure that they are on track with their maths, with their reading, with their German. The feedback that the children get is something that I found really interesting. And I've talked about this with other expat parents and also German parents, and it's the same for them. It doesn't matter what school their child goes to. It seems to be a pattern here in Germany that the teacher will focus more on the negatives rather than the positives. And so a child will do a test, and I'm talking about a 6-year-old child will do a test, and the teacher will just get a red pen and just mark like wrong, 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 and just write a little note that is negative instead of encouraging the child to maybe do better next time or focusing on something they've done well. It's just straight to the point. That is wrong. I was just shocked when I looked through my little girl's books and saw this like red pen like all over her work. Also in the end of the year reports that you get about your child's achievement in school, it's all very, very matter of fact, straight to the point, no beating around the bush. In New Zealand, the reports are very, very different. And I know I've got friends here who are from the United States who were quite taken back by their child's end of the year report because of the bluntness and the way that it was written. In Germany, I feel like the main focus is the negative, and in New Zealand, the main focus is the positive. I don't know if I'm explaining this very well, but in New Zealand, a child's strength is really magnified when a teacher is talking about a child. So they will focus mostly on the child's strengths and what they are good at and what they have to offer, and you know, their special talents and their strengths. And in Germany, it's more focused on the child's weaknesses, what the child needs to improve on, and the strengths are just kind of brushed over. And I don't like this personally. I find it really harsh, really confronting. I just get the overall feeling in Germany that the children are just pushed so hard to perform academically, and it doesn't matter about the individual child and what their interests are and their style of learning. Some children, they don't keep up as fast as other children, but it's kind of like survival of the fittest. And so it's just like boom, 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 we're going to get through this. If your child, you know, isn't keeping up, then that's too bad. And the parents have to be really pushing their children to keep up, and if they don't, then the child just falls behind, and you know, that's just how it is. And I think this sort of overall mentality in Germany, you know, survival of the fittest, you need to keep up or you're just going to fall behind and that's too bad, is the whole structure of the German school system. And I have made a whole video on this before, and this was quite a while ago, but I still stand by what I said in that video, and it's about the 3-stream system in Germany where children are separated after 4 years at school based on their academic performance. I feel like in Germany it's about cramming as much information and as much knowledge into that child in those 4 years before they are tested to determine what career path they will be on. And it's stressful. It puts a lot of pressure on the kids, and I think there are a lot of kids here who can't keep up, who just simply can't keep up. There's a lot of kids who can keep up, but a lot of kids who, not every child has the same learning style, and not every child is an early bloomer. Some kids are late bloomers. I was a late bloomer. I would have failed miserably in the German school system, and I think it's a lot of pressure on parents, it's a lot of pressure on kids, and I just think it's quite a cutthroat kind of school system. And do you know what, guys, I know I have let it all out and I've shared my opinion, but that's just how I feel. And as I mentioned, there are so many things I love about Germany, and I love raising my kids here for so many reasons, but the school system is something that has been a real shock for me. It's been something that's, I don't know, it's quite disheartening. That's the problem I have with the German school system. So in my opinion, I personally prefer the school system in New Zealand. There are a lot of things in Germany that I prefer over New Zealand. Like, that's a fact, but not the school system. And so, anyway, guys, I hope I haven't been too harsh in this video. Maybe I'm going to change my mind in a few years. I'll have to do an update and see how I feel in a couple of years, but for now this is how I feel about the system, the school system here. And I know I'm not the only one who feels like this. I know that a lot of other fellow expats who are raising their children in Germany have the same concerns as myself. So if you're German and you're watching this, I would love to hear your opinion on the German school system. Is it a system that you have thrived in, or a system that you have struggled with? If you've got children here in Germany, how do you feel about it? Because I know I'm sure there are a lot of people who think the German school system is fantastic. And in a lot of ways, I know that it is. It's a very high quality level of education. So anyway, guys, that's all I've got for this video. If you found it interesting, then don't forget to give it a big thumbs up. I would love you to consider subscribing to my YouTube channel if you haven't already. Feel free to connect with me on Instagram, and I will see you again really soon. Bye.